Slipped Away was a song that was written by the four original members of Rude Awakening. Jim, Kenny, Jeffrey, and Steve wrote that song.
Yeah, it was Slipped Away was one of those songs that was just equal four parts. You know, we all four had I think just an equal part each in writing this song.
I remember I had the music to You Slipped Away. I had that for a while and didn't have any real lyrics to it. I think I might have actually, I might have had a song that I was working with called Angel of Light or something like that, where I had that music to it, but I wasn't very happy with the lyrics, but I did like the music.
That's one of the few songs where all of us were collaborative in the same room at the same time all together.
You Slipped Away might be the only song that the original Rude Awakening with Steve and Jeffrey and Kenny and myself that we wrote together, traditionally writing the song together. There were a lot of other songs we collaborate on. But
wrote it in Jim's bedroom. I remember the day that we wrote it. You know, it was.
I just remember sitting in my room in Mount Pleasant with Kenny and Steve and Jeffrey. This was in the spring of '86, and I remember it was right after we had played a concert. It was the first time we'd ever played in Mount Pleasant. We'd been asked to do a few songs at a gig. It was what we called the Let It Be gig. We played Let It Be. And then there was an interview they did of us and everything. So it was a couple of years, I guess a couple of months after the Junior Follies. Well, after the show and the interview and everything, we went back to my house and we sat down and I think we said, hey, we ought to write a song.
So yeah, I mean, we were used to writing songs where we had a piece here and a piece there, you know, a riff here, a lyric there, but this was one where we were all together in the room.
And I just pulled out the music that I had and started playing it, and I remember Steve and I can almost visualize where everybody is. I was here, Jeffrey was to my right, Kenny was to my left, Steve was on the other side of the room. We had this spiral notebook, and we were all coming up with lines and melodies. And,
writing collaborative, passing the spiral around, writing lyrics and writing, chord progressions, what have you. And
I would just sit there on the guitar playing that music over and over. It seemed like Kenny and Jeffrey kind of led more, they led the lyrical writing. They were both throwing out ideas. And, you throw out a good idea and everybody would be like, oh yeah, that's cool, write it down. You throw out something and somebody would laugh at it or say, oh, it's terrible, or take what you just said and then reword it so it sounded really stupid. Anyway, it went around, we passed the spiral around the room and we were writing lyrics. That the song came together that way.
It was just a song that it really came together really, really fast. We all contributed to the music, melody, and words. And
that's how You Slipped Away was written. So I've got fond memories of that, of the writing of that particular song.
it's pretty rare for us, and I mean that's been a constant through our really career as musicians, where we didn't always have to be together to write a great song. There was always pieces that were fit in together lately, but
yeah, that was one of the few. I think there's only been two songs that Steve, the original Rude Awakening, Steve, Kenny, Jeffrey, myself, all wrote on. You Slipped Away was one. All I Do was the other. But You Slipped Away was definitely more collaborative in the lyric writing.
I remember writing the signature sort of lead melody, which was like,
Slipped away, slipped away, slipped away from me. You slipped away.
it sounded better on an electric, I think, than acoustic, but it kind of gave it, the main theme of the lead was something we used throughout the song. So
the bridge came a little bit later whenever we were, when I say a little bit later, a couple of years later, the part about living in a broken-hearted world, victim of a lonely-hearted girl. The part before the solo, that came later. I wrote that part later. It just felt like the song kind of just went on and on, because there's another one of those, like You Could Never Look Back and First Impression, that the verse was pretty much the same music as the chorus, and so I felt like we needed something else in there to break it up, and so I wrote that little bridge part and added it in later, and then I also added the key change at the end.
My first memory of the song, we recorded in the studio pretty early when I got in the band. We recorded it at David's studio.
And that was one of the songs that we recorded at David's studio around that time. Jeff was in the band, and we were bringing in older songs to demo, and so...
And at the time, it was a pretty sparse rock ballad type song. Basically 2 guitars, a vocal, bass, and drums. But the version that we've recorded now actually is what we probably heard in our heads back then. There's a lot more instrumentation. There's a lot more harmony vocals and things going on throughout the song. It's a little closer to what we actually heard at that time.
One of my all-time favorite songs.